Okay, we're back. I'm going to do a little overview as people gather to give you an idea of what exactly is going to go on and what to expect. I'm Michelle Belanger. I'm one of the founders of House Kheperu. It is a spiritual society. We're based out of Ohio, but we're worldwide. If you have read the Psychic Vampire Codex, you've read a lot of our stuff. I have been hesitant to do anything like live streaming rituals for a very long time, and this is going to be a solo one, just me, because I am in a position where my face can be out there. I've been on TV, so I really don't have much of a private life anymore. Many of my members are people who come from many different walks of life, many different religious backgrounds, and many different jobs, so not everybody has the luxury of being able to be like out there on the internet where people can do whatever they want with this and their image. This is a spiritual ceremony more than it is a religious ceremony. There's no invocation of gods or goddesses. The purpose of our rites and rituals are mainly to acknowledge what we collectively believe and to just solidify the bonds that we have as a group that shares certain beliefs. Many of those beliefs revolve around reincarnation and energy work. Of all the things that we engage in, those are the two primary ones. What you will see in this ritual, or get to hear more than anything else, I open with the Kheperu charge. If you've got a Catholic background, think of it as our Nicene Creed. It's the statement of intent and the statement of identity for the group. That opens all of our seasonal rites and pretty much all of our rituals at this point. I will close with what is called the family prayer, and that is another statement of intent, another thing that describes who and what we are and why we come together and do the things that we do in the first place. They have meaning for us. They do not need to have meaning for you. Listen to them because they're being shared. And, you know, if this isn't your bag, that's fine. I'm not out to evangelize. I'm just sort of sharing a little bit of this idea. What is happening in between is our version of Imbolc. And it's quite different from pagan Imbolc. It is an honoring ceremony for what we call the disembodied, spirits of the dead, but specifically our dead, like ancestor spirits. And in our belief system, they stay on that side as guides and guardians and helpers, and when they decide, or when it's time, they cross over onto this side. At some point, we'll stand on their side, and we trade off from one side to the other. This is the ritual where we reach across and honor them. Think of the ones that are special to us, recite their names to ourselves quietly, and we make an offering, a very simple offering of energy, just a little taste of the life that the dead no longer have. Part of the roles, as we distribute them in the larger ritual, usually someone not me. I'm the ritualist, so I'm kind of the MC of the ritual. I'm helping to like guide the whole thing, and I act as the voice. I act as the mouthpiece for the group. In this ritual, we usually have someone who acts as the mouthpiece for the spirits, the speaker for the dead. I'll be doing all of the parts. So anyway, I will do Q&A afterwards. So without too much further ado, I'm going to take a few moments and just kind of start. We are the many born. We are the immortal. Eternal we wander the aeons, moving to the rhythm of our own inner tides. We are active elements moving through passive worlds. Endlessly we die and are reborn, changed yet unchanging through the years. We move from lifetime to lifetime, taking up bodies as garments. Ours is a journey toward understanding, and our charge is knowledge and wisdom. We are the catalysts, and as we awaken to ourselves, we serve to awaken the very world. We gather this night on the night of shades to reach out across the veil and to acknowledge our disembodied. They are our family, our brothers, sisters, parents, lovers, friends who have walked with us lifetime to lifetime. They may not walk with us right now in flesh, but they are us, and they have been us. We have stood where they stand, and they have stood where we stand now. The only difference is they do not carry a vessel of flesh. They do not wear a body, but they are still a part of us. And although it is often hard to hear their voices, and not all of us are capable of speaking to them in this state, they should be acknowledged and honored. And that is what we will do tonight. I shall give voice to the voiceless as speaker for the dead. Some of us can hear as our spirit companions whisper from the other side, but not all of us who wear flesh can hear voices, can hear that communication. Right now in this space, still your mind and listen as I speak for those who cannot be heard by all of us with fleshly ears. We are those who have passed beyond the flesh, our voices the whisper of dead leaves, faded. Our names are many, who we were, who we are, who we will be. Listen. Tied here, we are Kheperu, we cannot leave. Watching you. We are waiting on the edge of perception. We do what we can, guarding you. Do not forget us. We are your family. Do not forget. The next selection is a prayer from the liturgy of funerary offerings. It's very, very old. Make of him an undying spirit. Grant him mastery over his body. Grant him openings before his eyes. Let all the spirits see him, and let them all hear his name. Let his name draw him back to himself, so that he is never lost. Grant him knowledge of the path and the ways of return. To all those of you who are our disembodied, our guides and our guardians who stand on the other side, I bless you, I greet you, I call you by name. I invite you into our space to stand beside us, to reach across. You are not forgotten. Although life can be distracting, although the flesh can make it hard to find the stillness and the quiet, to hear you, to see the subtle ways in which you reach across and let us know that you are still there. Understand that we do still hold you in our hearts. We make a space for you, and we will never forget. To all you gathered shades, who stood once where I stand, know that I understand I will stand where you are now. And when you are in my place in the world of flesh, I will appreciate that you do not forget, that you speak my name, and that you give even the tiniest amount of yourself to help sustain me through the dark. And to my family on the other side, I offer to you a little of my life. I honor you, I remember your name. I invite you to walk with me. I will not forget. The cycle of birth and death is endless. It is a journey we have committed ourselves to know ourselves, to play many roles, to understand what it is to be human and more than human. And as always, we return to these simple words. We have passed this way before, and we will pass this way again. We have been many things to one another, brothers, lovers, friends, and bitterest enemies. But through it all we have remained tied together soul to soul in this, our ancient family. May we endure together peacefully. May we enjoy each new lifetime as it comes. May we strengthen each other as we strengthen ourselves, and may we find one another in every time and in every place to share this fellowship and to celebrate this bond. And that's it. Short, sweet, pretty simple. And totally made up. Like, this didn't come from anywhere. The Liturgy of Funerary Offerings I got out of, oh, heaven help me, but it's an A.E. Wallace Budge translation, but still, the words fit. I liked the idea of remembering the name. Our names, they can call us back to ourselves. There is, just to be remembered can be a very important thing, just to be acknowledged. With part of my career, working with paranormal states, some of you have seen me in that. I've worked with folks who feel that they're haunted, who feel that there are restless spirits in their space. And sometimes the things that are frightening them are only their family members, or only people that they knew once in life, and those people are no longer alive. And all that spirit wants is simple recognition that they're there, just simply not to be forgotten. And the simplest way to solve most hauntings is to just speak out and say, I know you're here. I may not understand what you're trying to tell me, but I acknowledge you. It's the easiest way to try to fix a haunting. If you think that there's something bad going on, or if at least you're unsettled by it, just try being nice. If you aren't too sure about that, and you don't feel good just, standing in the middle of things going, hey dude, invisible roommates, it would be great to have a conversation. Set a little space aside. Just make it a little offering. Make sure you have boundaries on that offering. Do not go, take whatever you need, because trust me, some of them will, and you'll be on your butt before you know it. Spirits, at the very least, take energy. Many of the offerings that we traditionally give, food and flowers and all the rest of it, it's a token for the intent that you're putting into it. We don't normally do the whole offering bowls and all of the rest of it, but in Kheperu ritual, it's living ritual. The whole purpose is to, inside that framework of the charge and the prayer, make sure that it's adaptable, that we can be flexible enough to change according to our situation, to the group of people, to whatever's going on, so that it is a different ritual in every case, and it is the right ritual in that case, so that it feels most right. And last night, when we collectively did it, we actually got very fancy for us and did a whole offering bowl of a number of different things, which I will actually light right now.
There are a lot of people saying thank you for the chance to honor various relatives who have passed again.
It's important, at least to me. I mean, closure, for the living, closure is really hard. And the world I live in my life, I have no doubt, absolutely no doubt, that when someone dies, a part of them is still around. It's not always close to here. That person, once they figure it out, can come and go as they please. There's cycles that the dead go through as much as the living. But I understand how difficult it can be to fully believe in that. And there's always mourning, even if you believe that there is survival after death, because you're never going to quite see exactly that combination of spirit and flesh, exactly those eyes, exactly that laugh. So there is a loss. And it's important to honor that, to honor those connections.
Here's a question. Can just remembering someone be an offering?
Yes, absolutely. Those thoughts, that's a little bit of energy. I personally, and this is the realm of belief. I'm not going to say that this is stuff that is proven that you're going to be able to put in a petri dish. These are my beliefs. I believe thinking about them is an offering. It doesn't have to be much. Think about how you're taught to pray in most religions. Praying silently is enough. The dead don't need you to speak out loud to them to hear you. They can feel your emotions. They can feel your intent. There is a fair amount of what we would call telepathy and empathy. They're very tuned into the kind of energetic stuff that folks who are psychic try to understand once they're in flesh, because flesh is very confusing and distracting of those abilities. But once this is no longer here, it's way easier to tune into that. So yes, they can hear you.
It's also a question about whether we can do the same for pets.
Absolutely, we can do the same for pets. Let me show you something that's on this altar, and hopefully I won't tear up on you guys. Some pets are closer to us than others, and any of you who know me know Cornelius. And he not just got a place for his ashes on the altar, but I don't think I'm giving away the keys of the kingdom here, but we have a family altar, and part of this kind of being our home base. Every member of House Kheperu and everybody who comes here and participates in ritual leaves a little symbol of themselves back on this, so that when they go back to their lives, because we're spread out all over the place now, there's a little anchor point. And when we do our private family gather, everybody takes their thing during the weekend and recharges it, or chooses a new thing to represent them. And not all of the things belong to members, but some of them belong to allies, to friends. That's Cornelius's, and he has a place of honor on the altar. I'm pretty sure I'll see him again at some point. So yes, pets. I believe pets. Actually, some days I wonder if cats aren't, popping in and out of their bodies on a regular basis. They're very strange creatures.
A couple of people saw two spirits standing with you at the altar, and they're wondering who they are.
Well, depending on what they looked like. First of all, there's an awful lot of things, but the people who I felt helping here tonight, I have a guardian who keeps track of the comings and goings in the room where I sleep and do a lot of dream work. And she calls herself Madkin, maiden. She's a shield maiden, Germanic warrior. She got a little miffed with me at first when I assumed that she was a guy, because I got the gur tough, and she was like, I am a woman. I am a maiden. I am still tough. I will hold this space. And I got the sense of her here, but she's got very big, solid energy. And Set, who is lither, a priest, darker hair, quieter, but always very helpful. He's someone who works as kind of, I had to put somebody in charge of a lot of the spirits down here who aren't as whole or healed. Sometimes life is really rough, and when you're on the other side, you take some time to put yourself back together, to put everything into context. there's an old tradition where, like, when you die, suddenly you become super enlightened, you know the answers to everything. It was actually the basis for Western necromancy. You call up a spirit of the dead so that they can show you treasure, because suddenly, wow, they know everything, and they can find all the buried treasure and answer all these stupid questions that have nothing at all to do with their lives, and quite honestly, they really have no interest in it. So when life is very tough, when you're emotionally wounded, when there's a lot that you've gone through and it's very heavy that you carry with you, it can take a while to process through that. You know, you're still chewing on all of those emotions. And for our disembodied who are wounded in that way, who are taking time out between lives because the last one really was really put them to the ringer, Kem said is sort of the gatekeeper who looks after them and makes sure they don't get into mischief, because a couple of them do otherwise.
Well, if there are any other questions, this would be a great time to ask. I guess I've got a question.
That's cool.
Was there anything guiding the decision to set up the altar the way it is set up now?
I'll be perfectly honest, the idea for the family shrine totally came from Sandman. If anybody has read, awesome, you know, Sandman and Dream of the Endless, there's that gallery he goes into, and each of the Endless have their little symbol, and it's how you take the symbol and you use that to focus on the person that you're trying to communicate with over distances. And I was like, you know what, I'm stealing that. and that's a lot of how I put our ritual system together. You know, there's no cow too sacred not to eat at barbecue for me. And symbols are really about what speaks to you, what holds power for you. And in trying to put together a system that's going to speak to the group of people that we have here now, with the cultural backgrounds that they have, with our collective identities, that was a perfectly acceptable thing to do. Out of respect to the person, I won't show the actual item, but one of these is basically a mocked-up magic card that the person made with them as sort of like the magic card character, because gaming and that whole aspect, blending pop culture ideas and their magic is how they do their work. And so it might seem silly to one person, but what is ridiculous to one person is sacred to another. And that's a core thing of our Seek Your Own Truth in House Kheperu. You find what works for you. Don't worry about whether somebody else thinks it's ridiculous. It's whatever is going to really hit you here so you can focus on it and use it as a focus to leap beyond to the work that you're really trying to do.
There was a question about what inspired doing the broadcasting ritual this time.
We've been talking about doing some way of sharing this, but the main thing is I believe in transparency. The thing about alternate religions and rituals is somebody hears ritual and they're suddenly sure that people are sacrificing goats, that there's something nefarious, and the more you hide something, the less transparent you are about something, the easier it is for people to just decide that any old thing is going on. So on one hand, it's to go, this is what this is. And I had put a little shout out on Twitter and Facebook to let people know that we were going to do this. And there was a lot of questions of like, so what is the Night of Shades? What is this going to be like? And it was just easier to show it than to explain it. There's a feel to it. And yeah, some of it is very personal to us. I don't expect everybody to, like, you know, pick up the Kheperu charge and go, wow, this is totally my thing. But if you do, that's cool. Like, if this shape of ritual is something that you want to work with, that's cool. And if it inspires you to develop your own thing, by all means, grab it. Use it as a toolkit. And if there's stuff that you see and it's like, that totally doesn't work for me, at least that tells you something that doesn't work. And sometimes a negative will much more clearly show you what the positive is for you, what actually is going to work for you. So either way, I figured it would be a learning experience for people.
There was also a question about how to be more sensitive to loved ones who might have passed.
You know, this actually came up last night, because with House Kheperu, what we also do after this ritual is we will usually set some time aside to actually communicate if anybody wants to communicate. What we have noticed as energy workers, as people whose whole system is about developing our abilities, developing our sensitivity to energy, working with it, learning to harness it, the innate ability to hear, to perceive clearly the spirits on the other side, it's kind of like perfect pitch. Some people have it, some people don't. Now, you can develop a certain level of sensitivity, but don't freak out that you're not hearing, like you've got a microphone in your head. The perception is different for everybody. What I can say is it is often quiet and subtle and easy to miss. It can be as simple as a scent. It's those tiny little signs that are easily dismissed as your imagination or wishful thinking. And you have to ride this very careful intellectual line of, in the course of the ritual, allow yourself to believe in what you're trying to do. Because even if it's not real, the meaning is what's important. And I know that that sounds weird to anybody who might be of a skeptical mindset, but within context of spirituality, of religion, it's less about what is factually true and more about what holds truth for you. So in the course of your own stuff, whatever quiet little sign, just that sense of a presence, little sounds, and don't get frustrated. Allow yourself to immerse in the possibility of presence, and if nothing else, just say what needs to be said. Because for you, remembering, reciting those names, acknowledging that you still hold in your heart a tie to those people, that's important.
There was also a question about whether coming to this later in life made it more difficult to find the people that you're connected to.
Not exactly, because, I didn't exactly, okay, the question is if for you, coming into it later in life, what we found within our circle is we ended up kind of satelliting one another the whole darn time, and many of us, life would kind of throw us into one another's paths over and over again.
Clarification, I think it's, the question was more about finding your guides.
Oh, okay. For finding guides, chances are they've always been there, and it's simply a matter of recognizing where their subtle hand has been in your life. There's psychic intuitions we have ourselves of, like, don't take that turn and whatever, but sometimes it's our friends on the other side watching out for us. I do a lot of, warding, shielding, protecting the house and stuff like that, but honestly, the most effective protection you could possibly have is somebody who's standing on that side, because they will see everything miles before you even notice it on this side. How do you find your guides? How do you reach out to them? Listen. Take some time to reflect and see if they haven't been there all along. Don't worry if you can't come up with a name, if you can't come up with a solid picture of what they look like. It doesn't have to be so specific as some of mine. I mean, I'm an outlier with the level of perception that I have, and I don't even know that it's always a healthy level of perception. It can be very overwhelming, and without a lot of dedicated work to be balanced in my life, it would be hard to, be a normal person. Whatever normal is, cycle on a dishwasher. Any of you who follow me on YouTube and stuff, pet grad student, Becca Kirschbaum, super sensitive and super reactive to stuff. And it took a lot of work to kind of learn how to dial that back. I'm not saying psychic is bad. I'm just saying that from both sides of it, you have to learn how to balance it. You can't live all the way over with your brain so open that you can't shut anything out. And it does help to allow for possibility, even in a very, very grounded physical life.
There was also a couple of questions about whether we would be doing this again.
Yeah, I think so. If people liked it, and I got permission from the house, I wanted to make sure this wasn't out of anybody's comfort zone. And yeah, if people are interested, we'll do them again. The next one will be a little tricky because the main thrust of the ritual is basically the changing of the guard. Our spring ritual, I pass off the mantle of priest to my co-high priest, Aaron. Aaron cannot be on camera because Aaron's day job is in law enforcement. So that's kind of right out. But there is another aspect to that ritual where we just acknowledge the shift from the dark side of the year, which is about spirit and introspection and the truths that we seek beyond the physical life, to a more practical and grounded, life and light and in this current life, without, trying to look past and beyond all the other stuff.
So we've been getting actually a lot of questions, like a lot more than I can relay to you and still, remember what they all were. So I do want to say that we're looking at doing some more regular periscoping. So if you guys have questions, you can send them to Michelle via her website, michellebelanger.com. And we will see if there are enough to really start up something more regular with answering all those really good questions that you have.
Yeah, with Illyria here to wrangle me out of sitting and writing for 15 hours a day. What I might try to do then is make a post up on the Facebook fan page and take some questions if we're going to do a little event to kind of pregame it, get a couple of questions and see if we can't make maybe a monthly thing of Q&A.
Someone was asking for the YouTube address so they can find this later.
It is the same as my Twitter ID, Sethanikim. So SETHANIKEEM. And Anakim there is just the phonetic spelling of Anakim from a certain fiction series that some of you might have written, or written.
Only one of us wrote that.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
I will say, making the transition, post-ritual to, and now I'm talking, if random weird stuff comes out of my mouth, I apologize.
Okay, there was one more question about ritual specifically, which was, how do you decide what to include in a ritual?
For a solo ritual, it's what speaks to me, what best embodies my intent for that particular rite. It was a little trickier to put together the group rituals for House Kheperu because we have a group of people that is always growing and adding new people and changing, and the members themselves change individually. We have many different belief systems, many different backgrounds, and finding symbols and ways of putting the ritual together, the very structure that everybody could agree on and be comfortable with and participate in and really feel inspired by, that was hard. Like just coming up with, how do we indicate when we're in ritual space? We wear cords. Not everybody wears robes. Most of us are in jeans and t-shirts or whatever the hell. The cords were the one thing that we could agree on, and they are symbolic of what degree in the house we are, and then what caste. And caste is basically the role we play in ritual and energy work. Priest, warrior, counselor, which the simplest way is director of energy, harness and direct, warrior, ground and protect, counselor, generate and connect, weaving everybody together. Warriors are the foundation when we set up a ritual. The counselors come in and they fill the space with energy, and then in the course of the ritual they weave the connections between everybody to make sure that we're all in sync energetically, and they build off that base that the warriors set up, and then hold the walls and the outside of it. And then the priests come in. One is the ritualist, although it doesn't always have to be a priest. And the ritualist, the main speaker of the ritual, is the person who's kind of channeling everybody's will and intent for that rite and giving it voice. And while I think to an outsider it might seem like the person who's running the ritual is the guy in charge. Really, the person who's running the ritual is in service to everyone else in that ritual. It's in Voltron. I formed the head, but that head is all about speaking the truth of everyone standing there. And then everyone else who is priest in the ritual essentially stands and holds, they stand as a pillar in the temple, and they hold the sacred space and the intent of the space. And they channel their will and support to the person who is acting as ritualist.
Okay, so it looks like we are about out of questions.
Okay.
Again, if people want to come back and find video later, it'll be up on YouTube.
Yeah, at Seth Anakim on YouTube, same as the Twitter, same as the Facebook too. I just made everything Seth Anakim, so it's easier to find me now.
All right, thanks.
Because everybody parked M. Belanger and every variation of it. What the hell?
All right.
Rats,
cool.
Yes, rats. All right, thanks everybody. I hope you had a good time.